you may be and however you may be watching, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. And, we talked about Five Nights at Freddy's. We're going to be talking about the Banana Splits movie. There is this weird kind of subgenre of horror that is, or at least something, I don't know if it's straight up horror, but has come up that is, it's kind of put out some pretty interesting stuff to talk about. And this is one of the movies that requires discussion, not just for the actor involved, but for the movie itself. And here to talk about it with me is, of course, my amazing co-host, No Lady Cora tonight. She tends to stay away from the scary stuff, but we look forward to having her back on whenever time allows for her. But here, of course, with me to talk about this movie is my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother? Yeah. Chug it.
Crush the can, bitch. Crush the can. Oh.
It's a Guinness, too. It's a hard beer to chug. And, of course, the other half of our power couple here at the is another Five Nights at Freddy enthusiast, someone who will help us compare these two movies, is Tin Scepter. What's going on?
Not much. Just, sitting around.
And the shade from the Lone Star State, one of the horror aficionados, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
All right, y'all. Here's the deal. I've got this old barn, right? It's not in the best of shape, but if y'all would just spend the night, clean it up, kind of, just make it look nice again, I've got $1,000 for it. Now, I can't tell you what's in there. You may or may not live or die. Life happens, but it'll be an adventure. What do you say? Are you in? I mean, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. When he pulled up with that car with the horns on the hood, it's the hood ornament. I was like, that's exactly the kind of shit that I can envision Tex driving around.
Oh yeah, 100%. Right. Oh yeah.
Whether he's got an old beat up pickup truck or a nice caddy, it's got horns on the front, the Longhorns. That's exactly the kind of
thing. As a good, upstanding Texas Aggie, see the right behind me, I would have to saw the horns off, but the horns would be there as an FU to the University of Texas. But either way, it's all good. So. What you gonna do? So,
but let's get into this movie now. And this is one that I don't know why it took me so long to get around to this movie. Everybody was telling me that it was awesome, and I was like, "Hey, I'll get around to it." I'm so happy that somebody turned me on to this thing because it was fantastic. This movie is Willy'S Wonderland. It's the 2021 American action comedy horror film directed by Kevin Lewis from a screenplay written by G.O. Parsons. The film stars Nicolas Cage, who also serves as a producer on the film, along with Emily Tosta, Ric Reitz, David Sheftell, and Beth Grant. It follows a quiet drifter who is tricked into cleaning up an abandoned family entertainment center inhabited by 8 murderous animatronic characters who are possessed with the souls of a cannibalistic killer and his 7 psychotic colleagues. The project was announced in October of 2019 with screenwriter Parsons having conceived the idea. It caught Cage's attention, who agreed to participate as both an actor and producer. Lewis was hired as director in December of 2019, while the main cast joined the film in February of 2020. Willy'S Wonderland was originally set for a worldwide theatrical release on October 30th of 2020, but was one of many films postponed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Instead, it was released through video on demand with a simultaneous limited theatrical release in the United States on February 12th of 2021 by Screen Media Films, which led to a very poor box office, obviously. The film made only $457,000 against a budget of $5 million. The film received mixed to positive reviews, with praise going to Cage's performance, the dark humor, and the animatronics' realistic movements, but also met criticism for its screenplay, plot, and characters. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 61% based on 92 reviews, with an average rating of 5.7 out of 10. The site's critical consensus reads, quote, Willy'S Wonderland isn't quite as much fun as the premise would suggest, but it's still got Nicolas Cage beating the hell out of bloodthirsty animatronics, which is nice. I think that's kind of a simplistic. I don't know if I don't want to blame it on the pandemic kind of ruining what kind of momentum this movie could have built in the theaters. But I mean, it seems to be something that was happening to a lot of pretty good films that were very badly interrupted by that whole mess. I'll go to you first, Tex. I mean, give me some quick thoughts on Willy'S Wonderland before we get into the deeper discussion.
Yeah, this one's a lot of fun. I mean, if you go back to our Five Nights at Freddy's review, this is the movie that I wanted Five Nights at Freddy's to be. They kind of lack on some of the kills in this one. Probably a money thing. Didn't have too much of it, only $5 million budget. I don't know how much that went to Nick Cage, but this is a fun watch. This is, I mean, obviously we'll get into positives and negatives later, but overall, this one should be way higher than a 61% or whatever. I like this one, and of course, you put Nick Cage in it, I'm probably going to watch it. So I'm a fan of this one.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? Willy's Wonderland, again, one of these movies, me and you are both big Nick Cage fans. Everything the guy does, we love for different reasons. What did you think of the film? I'm wondering how long he's going to ride your
Hey, he's got applause for the commitment to the bit. I dig it. I support this behavior.
This is why we like Jeremy. but I'll go to 10 Septem next. I mean, again, a lot of comparisons. You're the Five Nights at Freddy, big time into that. You're the one that knows all about it. A lot of people said that they did it better. I mean, what did you just as an outside observer, not having any connective tissue to anything really, not having any stuff that this was built around. It was just kind of supposed to be its own thing. What do you think of the movie?
I really liked this movie. I saw it in, I think 21 is when I saw it for the first time. It was really enjoyable. It does have some of those elements that again, we'll do the comparison, but it has some of those elements I wished the Five Nights at Freddy's movie had. More of that gore, more of that almost campy kind of a feeling to it. Yeah. It wasn't taking itself too seriously, but it also kind of was. I really did enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was like I said, I kind of, when I got done watching it last night, I was like, why did it take me so long to find this movie? I mean, it's a Nicolas Cage. Anything Nicolas Cage comes out, and I'll give it at least a shot because it's got Nicolas Cage. But I sat with Jeremy and Rachel and watched Banana Splits movie at my place forever ago, and then Five Nights at Freddy's now this, and it's just like how do these stupid animatronics that looked so goofy and dumb when I was 9-10 years old back in the mid '80s, how did they become so scary and me not realize it? Because
I don't know, man. Chuck E. Cheese was always scary. I don't know what you're talking about.
I had more than one birthday parties, either mine or somebody else's at Chuck E. Cheese when I was a kid. That was a big thing, and I don't remember them ever being scary. Maybe I just didn't see them that way. The rest of my friends at the time did. I don't know. I just didn't. But there is something now that is inherently creepy about these things. I never caught it when I was a kid, but I love how they played off. And again, kind of the small town. This, you can look at this and like part of you is like the realism doesn't make much sense to me, but then again I'm just like, who really cares about realism? I'm watching Nicolas Cage beat up animatronic possessed things. So like, who cares? We're throwing reality out the window here. We're just having fun. Stuff your face full of popcorn, turn your brain off, just enjoy the ride. And this is really kind of the perfect movie for that. And let's get into the cast. I mean, obviously Nick Cage. He look. I don't know if there is an actor that could pull off not having a single line of dialogue in a film and still carry a movie, not just get as much screen time as Nicolas Cage, but still carry the film. I mean, this is kind of, he's giving us his best Marcel Marceau on this. I mean, he was so good, and with the exception of a little bit of grunting or something like that when he's playing pinball or curb stomping some animatronic monster's face on a urinal, which is my favorite kill of the entire movie. How does he do it? I mean, I'll go to you first, Rachel. I mean, it's the cast good. Nick Cage carries. What did you think of the cast overall? And did somebody other than maybe Nick Cage actually show a little bit of chutzpah through the course of this?
I think the girl that played Liv, I thought she was pretty good. Really played that part of, I'm trying to remember the full backstory there because I know that there was one. Her part in the stuff that had happened there beforehand, kind of a thing.
Oh, about her parents being killed in there or whatever?
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. I thought that she did a really good job kind of portraying that type of character. Of course, Nicolas Cage killed it. I mean, he said nothing in the whole film, and just this whole personality of this, kind of this gruff, mysterious guy just absolutely rocking all of these animatronics and taking breaks. I love that piece. The portrayal of just this savagery, and then I'm gonna go play pinball for 20 minutes. I'll be back in a minute. Kind of a that portrayal was just cool. I thought, that he did. Obviously, it's Nick Cage. He did well.
I don't know. Tex, how about you? I mean, obviously Nick Cage kind of runs this entire film, but do you think the rest of the cast filled in admirably?
Oh, I thought it was great. This feels like obviously they went with a small town so they could go cheaper on the budget, but it works. I mean, it's got that creepy, eerie vibe that you just take a drive at to you don't really know where you are kind of feel. But there were two people that really stood out. The tow truck driver. I mean, I'm a former tow truck driver, so I can relate to having that job. And I know people exactly like that guy. When you get in his tow truck, they don't shut up. I know like 5 of that dude. And come on, if we don't give Tex his own backstory film, like a prequel or something, I'm going to be pissed because that dude needed more screen time, damn it. That guy's awesome. I like that guy. But no, yeah, the cast was great. I can't remember the woman's name, the sheriff. I've seen her in 100 different things, but she was so cool in this film. She was, she, you automatically question her when you see her taking a handcuffed girl into a trailer. Like, okay, what direction does this movie go in? This could go bad very fast. But, spoilers, of course, but, turns out you think the one that's supposed to be the one to help you is really in on it the whole time. But very, very well casted. I think they nailed it all around, and I could spend 20 minutes just praising Nick Cage and anything he's ever done, but we already know that. So,
yeah, Jeremy, what about you? I mean, obviously, you're throwing a lot of love to Nick Cage and his character right now. Did you like the cast? What would you think?
Oh, this is tremendous.
Yeah,
this might be Jeremy's best review he's ever done. This is his best review he's ever given right here. Like, this is his mountain peak.
He raises a point though. It's like how many actors out there, not even just like right now, like over the last 30, 40 years, like you say this person in the movie and people are automatically like, oh, I'm gonna go see that movie. I don't care if it's like if you'd have put Nick Cage in Barbie, I might have been like, I'll probably pop an opening weekend to see it. It's like, as it stands right now, I still have not seen Barbie. I can't bring myself to actually sit and give that movie 2 hours of my time. But it's like Nick. If you say Nick Cage, I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Now I want to hear the plot.
Deal.
And if the plot sounds like something that can possibly work, I'm like, I'll give this a couple hours. I'll buy a ticket to this. I mean, why not? But but I mean, really, how many actors are there? I mean, and maybe it's a different list for everybody. I mean, some people might have one person on there, other people might not. But it's like, I mean, Nicolas Cage is on most people's list of like, oh, he's got a new movie coming out. I'm gonna have to check that out. I don't know what it's about. I don't know the title. I don't know anything. But Nick Cage has a movie coming out in a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna go watch it just because Nicolas Cage is in it. Because has the guy ever done anything bad? He's been in bad movies, but he's been good in them.
He's been good in every bad movie. He's been in a lot of bad movies, but his
performance never fails. I get a terrible movie, but Nick Cage is good at it. There's actors out there that can be like, I don't care what you give me. I'm going to act the shit. I'm going to be better than everybody else. It's insane like that. I will say the one thing, though, I would like to have seen more of the girl. I don't think they really explored her all that much. Yeah. Maybe it's because they weren't look, only a $5 million budget. This movie, they filmed it 4 or 5 years ago, it seemed. I don't know what they saw coming with the pandemic and all that as they were filming this, but I mean, maybe they should get a chance to build her up. I would like to have seen more of her, and maybe if they do a sequel, we'll talk a little bit about that more later on. Maybe if they do a sequel, we can explore her character a little bit more. I'd like to do a little more character work on these two characters specifically because I think they're interesting. There is this mystery surrounding Nicolas Cage, the same kind of mystery that surrounds somebody like the Joker. It's like background, nobody knows. What's his name? Nobody knows. It's like all we know is he's
the janitor.
And it was all on camera, and we loved it. Oh. But yeah, the rest of the teenage kids that were there screwing around. I mean, whatever. All I know is the blonde girl who's really hot. That's Casey Affleck's girlfriend or something like that. But
lucky bastard.
Yeah, the rest of them, I'm like, I have no idea who they are. I've never seen them in anything before. I found them all. They were fodder. It's like as soon as I saw these kids roll into the camper to kind of break out the one girl, I was just like, I have a feeling that maybe one of these kids is going to live, other than like the main girl.
Yeah.
I really don't care. I don't care that they all die. I just want them to die in a gross, really cool, entertaining way for me. But yeah, I mean, the one you're talking about, the sheriff lady, her name is Beth Grant. She's been a character actor for years and years and years. I've seen her.
Yeah, I've seen her in so many. She's one of those actors, like anytime you need an old Southern woman, she's the one that they hire. You know, she's just, I mean, because I don't know where she's from, but I feel like she's from somewhere in the South. So it's genuine, it's realistic. And she just, you know, she plays that role of the small town sheriff of, we're just going to sit here and pray the phone don't ring. You know, like I can feel like that's a real piece of dialogue. Yeah, I was a fan of her.
Yeah, I mean, let's go into the plot now. You know, it's again, we kind of. I don't want to make the comparisons too much, but it is kind of a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. It's somewhat similar. One guy has to go do something in this crazy, spooky old Chuck E. Cheese kind of place for a night, and crazy shit starts to happen. It really is the exact plot of Five Nights at Freddy's. We've already talked about that movie. You know, Banana Split's a little bit of a different thing. It comes from a kid's show. It's ongoing, whatever. And we'll get to that when we talk about that movie. But, you know, I'll go to you first, Tex. What do you think of the plot of the film? Should they have deviated any more and maybe kind of made it their own thing, or did it just work the way it was?
I think unbiasedly, I think this plot works better than the Five Nights at Freddy's because, yeah, it's creepy. Oh, dead kids inhabiting robots. Well, why are they killing people now? Like, to me, there's like a disconnect there. But if you know, with this backstory of, oh, well, there was 8 killers who did a satanic ritual to put their souls into a robot and they're killing people, that makes a lot more sense. That to me is more entertaining. Because like with the Five Nights, you know, we see the visions of the kids in the woods and they look all nice and innocent, and then we cut back and they're in the robots and they're butchering people. Like, I feel like there's a big step that we missed here of why this doesn't work. But, you know, plot wise with Nick Cage, obviously he goes through the small town. I mean, I'm sure y'all know the stereotype of how corrupt, you know, police and stuff can be in a small town. You know, you played that into the animatronics. That it works. It's a fun watch. It's even in the scenes that are kind of boring, that like, and I know they had to do the cleaning scenes to carry the plot. I think they could have cut down some on that. I think they went a little too much there. But I mean, yeah, it's awesome. It's, you know, they fixed a lot of plot holes I thought that Five Nights at Freddy's had, and I think they're better for it.
Yeah, Rachel, what about you? Again, you very read up on the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. This one, very, very close, a bit different presentation of kind of the same thing. What do you think of the plot of the film?
I liked this plot. It works. It doesn't require as much backstory as something like Five Nights at Freddy's does.
Yeah.
I think to appreciate Five Nights at Freddy's, you have to have some of that backstory. Or else, again, there is that disconnect. I can agree with you there. There's definitely a disconnect in the movie that, you know, you need more knowledge of the source material to understand what's going on there.
Oh, 100%.
For sure. 100%. With this, there is no source material. This is it. And you get what you need to know what's going on. And, you know, it takes itself a lot less seriously than I think the Five Nights at Freddy's movie took itself. Had a little bit more fun with the idea. I did like the plot point of the ritual. They're inhabiting these animatronics and they're basically making sacrifices so that they leave the town alone. That plot is good and it works.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? I mean, you also know a lot about the Five Nights at Freddy lore. Do you think this one kind of worked on its own, or was it just kind of copy and paste of Five Nights at Freddy's?
Just watched everyone your neck snap to the screen to see if I was going to say something.
Man, he talked. I was hoping he was going to hold out. Dang it. Oh.
No, because I was not going to let you sit here and trash Five Nights at Freddy's. So, no, I'm kidding. No, you're in Texas, but I mean, by all accounts, it's a fair point because it doesn't have to have, you know, like we get it. We know what the premise is. And to be fair, like Banana Splits and this came out before we had a Five Nights at Freddy's actual movie. So like we were saying, it isn't construed by the fact that it has to be within that world and that lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's just the premise and it works on its own merit. And to be fair, like in the games, this is probably a little closer to it because, I mean, like Tex was saying, the thing I thought that was missing out of Five Nights at Freddy's, I know it's for the kids, but if you know and you've seen the games or played them, it's definitely not. It is more like this. It's a lot more intense than you think. So I'm not mad. I think it works. And I'm glad we're doing the trifecta of these movies. I'm like, this one works for the basic premise of, creepy shutdown place with animatronics. They come to life and however you want to explain it, dead kids possessing stuff for whatever reason. Small town yeehaws doing a fucking ritual where they take outsiders in and feed them to these puppets or the thing about Banana Splits, which I know we're going to get to, it gave the premise that like that third wheel of like it's actually something that did exist, so it inherently makes it a little more creepy because that was a real show and that was a real kids program that went on. So to twist it into that way, like the obvious giant mouse in the room being this is Chuck E. Cheese, like so yeah, they all kind of have their own merit, which is weird. So if all these movies got together and did their own ritual, I mean, sure. But yeah, this one just kind of went, like we said, didn't take itself seriously, just kind of went for it. And honestly, I don't know how. I feel like it would almost be harder to not say anything for a whole movie. And like Frank always says, like you act with your eyes, you act with like your expressions. For him to still be able to, be a fun. I mean, it's Nick Cage. Yes, that's half the battle.
He's a very animated person anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, like
there is no cure for the cage rage. Just saying.
He's doing goofy shit, like he's cleaning up, and then he's taking the fucking weasel to Pound Town for about 10 minutes, and then just wipes it off, grabs a new because he has a whole damn box of these shirts. New shirt, new can of whatever that fucking energy drink pop was, and then
was it
a couple rounds of pinball.
Something punch. Was it?
Something punch.
There's another movie here just in the origins of, is it an energy drink? Is it like a steroid? Like there's a whole nother movie there they could make just on that can of whatever.
It keeps you going. It keeps him going. He gets back to it. Like,
Yeah. Is this like the, Popeye with the can of spinach or whatever, he starts, whatever. I mean, there's you could do a whole movie just on the origins of that drink, but hell, why not?
Are we sure this isn't like the dude from Gone in 60 Seconds or that movie he did? This is just like in between. He got lost at one point and they cleaned up a restaurant for a night and then left.
We're going to need to know where Angelina Jolie went to, if that's the case.
All right, that's
left, fair. And then after that went and stole the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And maybe Angelina Jolie got the Mustang, so that's why he's in a Camaro in this movie. Maybe that's why. Maybe he upgraded. I don't really know, but it is possible.
Yeah, as far as the plot's concerned, I mean, yeah, it was just kind of Five Nights at Freddy. The big difference I noticed between that and this is they explored a little bit more of Josh Hutcherson's character in that movie. That wasn't the point of this movie. That was like the biggest difference. It's like Nicolas Cage is just there. There is no explanation. All you know is that the situation is basically the plot of the movie. It's just he's in this weird place with these haunted animatronics and shit's going to happen and that's it. Whereas they tried to explore the why of how everything got to where it was in Five Nights at Freddy's. Whereas here, you're just like, we spent 5 minutes explaining it, and then the rest of us all just watching the hydraulic fluid get, poured out of these things as Nicolas Cage is ripping spines, animatronic spines out of necks and, stomping on, smashing the one against the wall until you see your red hydraulic fluid pulling away like blood. It was that kind of thing. They didn't concentrate too much in the story, just on the visuals, which I was kind of like, okay. There were also, I noticed there were things that Five Nights at Freddy's did good that this movie didn't do as good, and there were things that Five Nights at Freddy's didn't do very well that this movie did. I don't know if that was, I don't know how it worked out that they did those things, but I mean, I found this movie overall, the plot to be simpler but better. I think the presentation was better. But then again, I think the expectations for Five Nights at Freddy's was probably a lot different because there was already one or two games out, all this different print material that fans have read, and so much stuff online. Whereas this is just like, we're going to take this movie and throw it together and put Nicolas Cage in it. We're going to spend $5 million on it, and it doesn't exist in the universe. It's just happening on screen. There's nothing to know about it outside of this movie, which probably makes it so. I don't know.
I was gonna say, you sweet summer child. There's at least 10 games.
There's
out
at least
before
10
before the movie. That's the thing, is like, it was kind of like a meme. It was like, we never. It's funny now that I have this meme that I look back on. It was like It was when Kim Kardashian, bless her heart, really thought she broke the internet. Like, you have a big ass. No one's surprised. No one cares either. But it was like a list of things that would actually break the internet. And the messed up part is all of them, I think, except for one, happened. I looked back on it a few years ago. I'm like, oh, well, that's fun. Like, no one ever thought you'd get a Fallout 4 video game. And here we are. Like, everyone lost their fucking mind. To be fair, we never thought, there'd ever be a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, like an actual one. So when it came out of nowhere, and we were like, oh shit, we're really doing this. But that's the thing about this, is it's just a fun, just the base premise. And we're like, yeah, why not? Let's just have fun with it. And, it and Banana Splits does that pretty well. I'm trying to remember Banana Split. Wasn't it just like, not the janitor, but there was like a guy who was not like the mechanic or whatever, but he was like the mastermind behind the animatronics.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they were like his,
bringing them to life.
Like they were like his little kids or something, and they were his creations. So they kind of leave that one on a cliffhanger too.
With Five Nights at Freddy's, I mean, the source material for that is at least 10 games, at least 10 books, small books, but at least 10 of those. I mean, there's so much source material. And almost.
Didn't they also have a comic book run at some point?
Yeah, they have graphic novels.
There's graphic novels too, yeah.
That are based off of the novels, but then there are novellas, about 20 of those, 3 stories each. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of source material for that, which is why it's hard to jam it all into a movie, especially if you're just trying to do one. Whereas, like we were saying with this, I mean, this is the kind of movie that I've been waiting for more people to make more of, because it feels like there's not a lot of movies like this that are just kind of one-offs and full of just fun.
Well,
you don't
as far as fun goes,
Five Nights at Freddy's shit, like right behind her.
Yeah, that type of fun.
And that's part of all of it either.
As far as fun goes, when you're looking at this and Five Nights, this movie, I mean, go back to our review once again for Five Nights. I said that my biggest complaint for this film was we get very little time actually in the main place. Yeah. They spent 75% of that movie explaining Josh Hutcherson's lackluster performance with zero personality and crazy ants, and when in reality, put us in the pizza place, show us this. Yeah. This film gives you that. I'm not saying Five Nights at Freddy's is a bad film. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but look at the money it made. You can't argue with the financials. But this film doesn't have to appease a gigantic fan base. It doesn't have to attach to 10 video games, 10 books, 15 comics, 1,000 action figures, and lunch boxes. doesn't have to worry about any of that. Now, the fact that they haven't marketed that punch drink and put that on the shelves, that's a misstep in my opinion, because I'd buy a lot of that crap. But
I'm trying to find the shirt too. It's all sold out. So it's obviously pretty popular.
Is not. Oh, I'm sure you can go on Teespring or Etsy. I'm sure somebody's making a knockoff version somewhere. Oh, yeah. But this is not tied to any lore. They're literally making it up as they go. And Nick Cage is the Michael Myers of this. He doesn't say anything, and he just goes to kill people. Pretty much the same character. But it's a fun watch. I was entertained by Nick Cage sweeping a floor. I don't know how many actors could just sweep a floor and I'm entertained. That's skill right there. Give the man an award.
Yeah.
After shit stomping some animatronic, he cleans it up.
Yeah.
It's so nonchalant. Like this is another fucking Tuesday for this guy. He's just like, all right. Back to it. He just ripped an alligator's mouth apart, sweeps it up, changes his t-shirt, and I'm entertained. Like, bravo. Why did this not win an Oscar? This is ridiculous. But whatever.
Well, let's talk for a minute about the effects. And again, a $5 million movie. I'm not expecting greatness, but this movie certainly had its moments. I mean, there were a couple on there that I was like, that's fairly impressive for what this movie really kind of is.
Best kill of the movie right there. Best kill.
Dude, he curb stomped the guy on the lip of a urinal.
Into it.
Like, wow.
Yeah,
that's right
come
there.
on.
That's how you do it right
there. That wins. Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, the effects were fairly good in spots. I mean, a little bit of it was kind of that old horror, thing about hiding your inefficiency with the effects, the darkness, and all that. But there were some that they played them up really, really well. Jeremy, you're one of the experts here. You and Rachel are both pretty into this thing as well. What did you think of the effects? Do they hold up, not just against Five Nights at Freddy's, but really against any movie where we see a lot of blood splatter?
Yeah, it works. And I mean, if you saw that there, it's like, again, you're not construed by the fact that it has to look like Freddy, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie. It's like these, conceivably, you could look at that and think that in some alternate universe, yeah, these are animatronics in some creepy kids, nondescript, arcade pizzeria, So just, I guess that counts for effects, like the way the characters are made. But and props to the fight scenes that, like, again, they got in there and they just went for it and did it. And
I remember watching, I think we watched bonus features of this film. I recall watching a small thing of bonus features where they explained how they did all of that. And it's like half of the time there were people in them. Wow.
Practical,
most of the time most of these were practical. These people were fighting with these big suits on, which is crazy. First of all.
Wow.
That's what's impressive.
Yeah, that alone. I liked the use of kind of the oil instead of blood. I thought that was a nice touch to it. They're not human, so why would they bleed? Kind of a thought.
Yeah, but if it bleeds, you can kill it.
Doesn't matter the color.
I can imagine that it not being blood, that had to have helped with what the rating of this film got, because if it had been blood, what's that old saying of, I forget, it may have been George Romero, like, he had to change the blood to green so it wasn't as offensive to general audiences or something. It's in some old interview that he did, but yeah, I could see why they did that.
It's like if you told me that was in Night of the Living Dead, I'm like, that movie's in black and white. You would never know.
Right. And it was chocolate syrup and ham.
It was chocolate syrup. Exactly. But just for the kills, like Tex said, I'm like, I'd even go a step further. He's got like Jason Voorhees levels of like creativity and how he kills these animatronics.
Oh yeah.
Like
everything is a weapon with Nick Cage. Everything.
Yeah, he used the environment. He used like everything. I don't know how this guy knew to, he had the skills to be able to fight these giant mech, robots, but I mean, well, I wouldn't mess with him, I guess.
I think the only clue that we get is at the beginning and the end of the film when we see his army dog tags hanging from the rear view of his Camaro. Yeah. Like, so
it's whatever's in that drink.
Was he like, I think there's something
to do.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, SEAL Team 6 took out, Osama. It's like SEAL Team 5 trained for Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, what's the deal? I don't know what's going on. But I think there's something to that
got
drink.
A contingency for robots. Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Well,
Skynet.
For him to have like every hour scheduled for that drink, I think they did that on purpose. There's got to be a backstory and a reason why. I hope they know what it is, but who really knows? So.
Oh, don't put that poll up there. I don't like that question.
Well, eventually we'll put that poll up there again. We'll add in like the Banana Splits movie. I mean, just to see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like Rachel, again, to you, the effects. I mean, you and Jeremy are way into the whole special effects thing anyway. I mean, are these effects that are going to hold up for you? Again, in spots, I thought they were great. Some of them I thought,
Yeah, I think spots, it was obvious, what we were looking at. Puppets, essentially. But in others, I mean, in some ways, some of them moved very mechanically. Yeah, and I thought that, the use of it being the, practical effects makes a difference in this kind of a movie. I think also the atmosphere around the effects made a difference as well, where each thing happened made sense for which animatronic it happened to, if that makes sense. Like how each of them were killed in the places that they was pretty strategic.
I actually think that they'd use a lot of animatronics for like just them walking. If those were like full-fledged like robots, but like the fight scenes, obviously they kind of had to have somebody in them to make, because especially the one where he's fighting the gorilla in the bathroom. I was like, there's no way that you're not going to do
kind of the one I'm talking about. Like, yeah. I mean,
but out of all the animatronics, though, the one that really stood out for me though is the ballerina or whatever that girl was supposed to be.
God, yeah,
it's supposed to be a siren.
Her mask, like at the end of the film, where they show like her mask, where it's like a ripped plasticky look skin, and there's like blood. Oh, look, that shot right there. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's like some Joker smile looking stuff.
Yeah,
but
that shot was
her suit at times, like whenever she's walking into the room where her and the other one were going to go 2-on-1 versus Nick Cage, that almost looked like it was maybe like a latex suit or even human skin. It didn't look like it was very minimal, which obviously leads to the design of the character. But I think I could see that just being that person's skin, so the mobility is still there with that character. But
the actress, I don't know. The actress who did the voice for that, she is the only person that actually did all like the in suit stuff as well.
Nice.
Really? Okay.
None of her was animatronic. That was an actual actress in the suit doing the voice.
Okay, well that's what I'm saying, because it looked very real.
People doing voiceovers in post production, and then there was like stunt guys in the suits for the fight scenes, and then the animatronic stuff. Because I noticed that, I was like, because I was looking at her legs once, I was like, those don't look like animatronic legs. Those look like this girl's got her legs.
Yeah, they look like human legs. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, she is the only one that actually did in suit work for the entire movie.
Oh.
That makes sense.
Which makes me wish we got more of her, because like I said, none of them look as scary as this one, as this scene right here.
She was the best one.
Yeah,
I saw that and I was like, that's a hell of a close-up to have. Now, again, you made this movie for $5 million. You didn't have a whole lot to blow on, a lot of crazy effects anyway. So I think it was interesting that they kind of picked and chose the spots where they were going to we're going to put this effect right in the camera, like the scene of her mouth, stuff like that. Some other things. We're gonna concentrate on those things, and the rest of them, it's going to be middle of the night, dark inside this crazy place anyway. So they're not going to see our special effects shortcomings, which works out just fine for me.
When it like with the monkey, that just looked like a cheap rental suit you get from a costume shop. Like you could tell they didn't spend much money on that one, because he's killed in 20 seconds. He pops up, ooga booga, and then he gets curb stomped onto the toilet. Even the Willie the Weasel or whatever his name is at the very end, he looked like a big stuffed animal. it like that to me. Yeah, I mean, it looks cool, but that looked more like a stuffed animal than an animatronic. Because I mean, you didn't really see it move much. To me, I think the best
I
two
think
were
that
that.
looks like I think it really looks like what you would have seen in Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, if
that's your main
is
character,
really
right there.
reminiscent of what that looks like, and what I remember it looking like. They look.
I think the best two are the dancer and then the alligator. I like the design of the alligator too. The alligator was awesome as well, and especially like when he rips the jowls apart and whatever. I like the way that they did that effect too. That looked really cool.
Yeah, but Tex, you've already given some of your thoughts already. I mean, overall, the effects. You're the horror aficionado. You are the blood and guts expert. I mean, did it work out?
Love me some blood and guts. The best shot in the movie is the hot, almost naked girl getting the Evil Dead-like blood splatter. Just, I was like, okay, now you have my attention, sir. That was like the opening was like, they do the whole cheaply, the girl screams and then there's like one blood splatter on the wall. I'm like, oh, okay. This is kind of cheaped out, but they made up for it in the end with a good bit of gore. I will give it to them. The gore kind of felt like it was kind of like a low budget late 90s movie kind of feel, which is a good and bad thing at times. But I'll go back to something y'all said earlier with the whole use of the hydraulic fluid. Obviously, we got blood in this movie, like when the guy gets his neck ripped out. We'll see flesh and blood or whatever. But realistically, the use of the hydraulic fluid just getting splattered like it's a spam in a cabinet in Evil Dead 2, that really brought it home. So, the points for originality for trying to work within a rating system, which honestly ruins movies, but I think it holds up pretty good for what it is. It's not like, snuff film gore, but for what the movie is, it's what it needs to be. So,
oh man, robots actually died in this movie.
Right.
As close as you get.
Several.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I thought the close-up effects were great. Like I said, I love the one of the shot of her mouth when you pop up there and you get to see that. That looked very grotesque and straight out of a good horror movie. And I was like, okay, I can go with that. The rest of it, I mean, the kills were kind of basic. It was a lot of quick cuts and stuff like that. It was the way they did it all. Like I said, curb stomping the gorilla on a urinal. I was like, I've seen people get, I've seen fights in bathrooms where guys get thrown into toilets and mirrors and sinks, but I've never seen anybody get curb stomped on the lip of a urinal. That to me was a new one. Just the sheer brutality of a couple of these. I mean, like, you had one of them, he just constantly slamming her head up against the wall. And sometimes it's the simpler kills that are the most visceral. It's one thing to, like, terrify her, the hacksaw right down the middle of the girl, that kind of thing. But sometimes just bludgeoning someone to death, there's something so raw about it, so real. Because that kind of thing really happens, whereas, somebody transecting a woman with a hacksaw is fairly unusual. It's not
your everyday.
It's not. It doesn't
greatest
just
kill in
happen
horror.
every day.
I would argue anybody.
Yeah, so those really visceral kills, that's kind of what he does a couple of times in this. I also thought it was really cool. Like, I agree with Texas ripping the alligator's, like, mouth open. As fun and exciting as that was, I thought it was more comical than anything else. I didn't think it was as visceral as some of the other kills. But
that was a very campy death. It was, yeah.
It was, but you know what, though? I think one of them needed to be campy. I think every good horror movie has that one death you kind of roll your eyes at. And you're like, whatever. It would look good, but like whatever. So
right.
What, the first or second Friday the 13th, Kevin Bacon's first one. So he just, like, shoves the arrow
right in his neck. Yeah.
And I was always kind of like, okay, I mean, that's cool and wild, but I'm like, I don't see anybody not knowing. Dude, I still look at my bed at night, Jesus Christ. But it's like, it just seemed, it was the one that was kind of odd and funny to me. But I mean, all the kills here were varied enough to where they were all a little bit different. And they were either funny or crazy. You know what I mean? Like I said,
all except for when they kill the main star, though. I don't like how they killed Willie. He just bashed him in the head a few times. I mean, if he's going to be the main guy, he's your boss villain. I felt like there should have been more to that death, though. Don't y'all think?
I thought it was kind of a classic. in the vein of a Nick Cage 90s and early 2000s action film like The Rock or something like that. I thought it was a classic good guy, bad guy in the last fight kind of thing. And well, another thing I thought was very interesting, and you guys alluded to it earlier, the Willie, the squirrel or whatever the hell he is, he actually doesn't move until the very end of the movie. He's just always he's always just kind of watching over all this shit. And it isn't until the very end of the movie where he's like, all right, I'm gonna go fuck with this crazy guy, Nicolas Cage myself. But I thought it kind of took on that final fight of a 90s action movie in that moment. More so than like the crazy killer, going up against the final girl or whoever he's got to fight at the end of the movie. More so than that, it was just kind of like a John Woo movie. All it was missing was the doves flying to the background or something like that. So, and maybe it would have been cooler if that would have drug out a little bit longer and maybe been a bit more bloodier. But I do think it was kind of an interesting, kind of a classic Nick Cage action climax. You know what I mean? Something we would have seen from any of his other movies.
To be fair, Freddy, that's all Freddy does too, is he just kind of lurks, he just kind of hides and watches. He doesn't really do, for being the namesake of the entire, franchise. I'm like, Freddy doesn't actually really do a whole lot, to be fair.
Right.
Yeah, it's similar in that way for sure.
I mean, you're not just going to go toe to toe with Freddy right out right out flat out. So, I like that this kind of, I'm sure we're going to talk about you could make a sequel, you could, but if this all is just kind of a one-off, it all ties up, then I'm fine with that. But yeah.
Let's go ahead and make the heavier comparisons now. I mean, obviously they said that this movie was Five Nights at Freddy's before Five Nights at Freddy's got made. In all fairness, they've been talking about doing a Five Nights at Freddy's movie for several years. I don't know why it took so long to come to fruition. I think even before Willy'S Wonderland even came out, that the Five Nights at Freddy's had been out there, something they were trying to get on screen for a while. But I'll go to Tex first because I know that Rachel and Jeremy are going to have the most to say about this. I mean, how do the two movies compare? What did one movie do right that the other one maybe didn't do quite right? I mean, and which one do you prefer?
Well, I mean, apples to apples, Willy'S Wonderland beats it easily for me. But on a more equal and unbiased opinion, because I'm not really a fan of either. I mean, one's a franchise and the other's a one-off film. I'm not the Five Nights at Freddy's guy. That's those two people over here. But what Five Nights at Freddy's did better was obviously they had more money to put into their monster. The actual pizza place looked, it was brighter. They had more of the neon. They had more of that environment. Unfortunately, we just didn't get to see much of it. Whereas in this one, it was the complete opposite of what I just said. You got more of the environment, but it wasn't as bright. You only had a little bit of neon from the pinball machine or some lights on top of the deal or whatever. But, I feel like these two movies are made for two different audiences. This movie was made for more of the gore hound like myself, whereas Five Nights was made for the fans of that franchise that have been following it for however many years it's been going and the 1,000 projects that they've done. So, I think Blumhouse was just checking boxes when they made Five Nights at Freddy's a little bit this is from this and this is from that. The fan base will love this. Just throwing in Easter eggs here and there. Whereas this was just, hey, let's make a cheap knockoff of something that's, famous and, go with it. So.
Jeremy, how about you? We've seen both films. How do you compare the two, and what did you think that one movie did better than the other?
I definitely agree with what Tex was saying. It's like if Five Nights at Freddy's had at least had some of the intensity with some of the things that happen. It's hard to translate it from a game. It's like where you're playing, you're trying to not die from these animatronics. Like Foxy, for example, who's a freaking track star and runs at the speed of Mach 5 straight at your fucking face, and then it's over. Because that's it. That's game over, right? So the movie be over. I mean, it's sometimes it doesn't quite translate the same. So if this one had been that way, it's like that. If they could have explored that avenue with Five Nights, it would have been fun. But I understand it. It is, like you said, it's a big franchise that's trying to. It's unfortunately it's the first movie. It's got to explain everything and lay the groundwork. And I mean, who knows? If the sequel comes out and it's, because we've already established everything, we could maybe hit.
Y'all hearing an echo?
It's probably your door's open. It's probably me.
We're in the same domicile, so.
If I talk for loud, you hear me.
Wait, y'all are living together before you're married? How sinful, my Lord.
I'm sure that's the worst thing they've done, yeah.
Yeah, I make during a certain time of the year, I make all the Christian moms angry. So and it does,
I'm gonna clutch my pearls in disgust. How dare, my goodness.
That and it does something for other people because they're freaks and they're weirdos. But anyway, but I get paid for it, so no.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, this being its kind of just own contained one-off, like, yeah, it's fine. It just has its fun and like, yeah, who cares? Just go for it. And again, I kind of feel like Banana Splits is the same way, and I'm hoping we do that somewhat soon because we keep saying it, and I'm like, if anyone's trying to follow this timeline here of us talking about these, it'll make sense. I would say Five Nights at least it kept. I mean, for what it's trying to do and try to be its own thing, it's lore, but it's lore in this movie universe, not necessarily the games. It's from that, but I know it's trying to do its own thing. And I would argue that, again, because that one came out, hilariously, that one actually came out most recently compared to Willy's and Banana Splits. But I think also, not only, like Tech said, this is like for more of the people that want the gore and kills and all that jazz. But I'm like, I think what you did is you still captured the Five Nights at Freddy's audience. Cause I'm like, again, we didn't have that. And we're like, well, we all kind of just accepted that this is the closest thing that we'd ever get to it. So you also have people that enjoy that I'm sure also enjoyed this movie. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. And yeah, unfortunately Five Nights is you are just going there for the Easter eggs and the lore, and it is more exciting because you're like, "Ooh, I know what that is." Oh my God, he's gonna say the line. He's gonna say a line. He's gonna put the helmet on. He's like, "I always come back." You got Matthew Lillard at least. I mean, I don't know if I want to compare Matthew Lillard to Nick Cage. Yeah, he did the little like knife clean knife swipe.
He did the knife wipe. He did the knife wipe before Scream could do it. So Scream, you messed up.
Right. Now, that wasn't doing the last movie, but if he would have dropped that same line where you could have been like, instead of who gives a fuck about the movies, like, who gives a fuck about the video games? Kill somebody.
If he could have just once said, "I'll be right back," it would have just topped it all off.
I know. I already called it as soon as he said, I'm like, of course he's gonna say the line, and I always come back. I saw it in my head. I'm like, someone's gonna make a super cut of like Stu being like, "I'll be right back," and then cut to that. I always come back. Yeah. I enjoyed both, and I mean, I'll even say it in the poll. I actually said I liked Willy's Wonderland more. Now I'm excited. I'm more excited for Five Nights for what it can become, but I think I enjoyed this one first. It was more of just like you said, turn your brain off and just punch a few mechanical robots and weasels in the face. Who cares? It's just a fun time. And don't forget to take your breaks and take your pop and play some pinball.
Make sure to hump the pinball machine.
Yes. But I don't know, Rachel. What do you think? Again, you're the Five Nights at Freddy expert. Yeah,
I'm not even.
A lot of obvious comparisons. Mm-hmm. Some are just kind of like differences of storytelling. How do you compare the two?
It really, to me, is gore versus lore in this particular instance.
I like that. That's good.
Hashtag it.
Yeah, right. Gore versus lore.
Yep.
You say that in the games, Jeremy, you keep saying in the games there's all this, this violence. And I mean, we're talking pixelated blood popping out of a pixelated bunny. I mean, it's 8-bit. What's implied. What I'm saying is what's implied is what's scary.
Well, just like we said with the mechanical oil, it's like, you can get away with ripping a monkey in half or some shit because it's not blood. With that, that's true. They do the more horrifying bits in 8-bit because, you understand what just happened, and it's, you don't have to, But I mean, I'm saying
that's just a side point. But
like mechanical bunny bust in and fucking ripped my head off. Like, well, Jesus, I saw that whole thing in like 3D almost.
Yeah.
That's
but
true.
Really, it really is. It's with the Willy's Wonderland. Of course, I saw this before I saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie that came out beforehand, and I also saw Banana Splits before I saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And there were a lot of things from both of those that I wish I could have seen in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I think that in Willy's Wonderland, the gore obviously is better than what we saw. It would have been more interesting to look into that Springlock suit more, and, have that make more sense to an outsider, because it's like, I guess, the Springlocks are going, but it doesn't kill you right away. I mean, that is a slow death. Yeah. And I think that could have been capitalized on more for the horror aspect, for sure. And again, like I said earlier, this storyline works better for somebody coming in and sitting down, watching a movie and getting the whole picture in one go. With Five Nights at Freddy's, you kind of have to have a background to really understand what's going on. You can sit down and watch it and get a general idea, but you're still going to have a lot of questions. And the other sort of unfortunate things with Five Nights at Freddy's is it is unfortunately a multiverse of things. The games are one universe, the books are one universe, and now the movies are one universe. We now have 3 universes that are similar but have differences, and one universe alone was already confusing enough. There are a lot of inner arguments with super fans of the series about who people are, who's what actually happened here, when was this, all of that. So that makes it hard to make, I feel like, movies that are going to be cohesive to an outside audience. Obviously, there are a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's fans. Like Tex said earlier, look at the numbers, look at the money. It's a big thing. And I do wish that Willy's Wonderland could have gotten more attention, because I think on its own, it is a really cool thing. I mean, obviously, it's all built upon the same general idea. But that's built off of a real fear that people have had ever since animatronics have been sitting in restaurants or sitting in amusement parks, or, I find them creepy in reality. There's just something weird about them to me. And that's why I have kind of an interest in this kind of stuff. Or the people who, it's kind of odd, and then you give them this backstory, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is even worse than I thought it was, and you kind of lean into that. I think story-wise, I liked that this focused more upon, what actually was happening, whereas the FNAF movie had more backstory, which I like that. I like the Easter eggs. I like the backstory, because that's what I went to the movie for. But if you're going to see a horror movie, you'd probably want to see Willy's Wonderland over FNAF. I prefer FNAF because I'm a lore fanatic. But being truthful, if you're looking for something I wouldn't call it brain rot, but you could sit and not have to think too hard. Whereas if you're seeing FNAF, you kind of be thinking. So that's kind of my opinion on the comparison between the two. I think I enjoyed both movies thoroughly for different reasons.
I think it's nice that it is kind of its own. It's like it is kind of the unfortunate inherent thing is that you do have to know a bit about Five Nights, because you'll probably get it more and it might be more exciting to you. But that's always my problem, is when you adapt stuff like this, where it's something you're into, or like with Last of Us or Fallout that's coming out. It's like, I've played those games multiple times, so like I know, but then I think, I know they're trying to appeal to those people, but you have to appeal to anyone who's maybe never heard of it. You have to make sense to people who don't know what it is. to still be able to grasp it. So it's nice that it is the movie's its own thing. So if it's you're trying to understand this, I would even say Last of Us is to me seems like an alternate universe, because if you noticed, every scene they play out the same way in the games, but they're always mirrored. It was always a really cool way. They always mirrored, like Joel's holding his daughter one way in the game, and he's actually cradling Sarah the opposite direction in the show. Like even just little stuff like that, it was all mirrored, like in a purposeful way. So like more than once, that happened multiple times. I always thought that was really cool, because I'm like, oh, I recognize that shot, but it's, this is the real the movie or show adaptation compared to the game. And maybe if it does that for you, it's like the sales for The Last of Us like skyrocketed, because then people get into it and they're like, "Ooh, what is this? Like, what's this game?" And I'll go check it out. And it's not like, I mean, I know like Rachel said, like as much as we love watching Five Nights, I'm like, it's actually kind of a hard game. So to be fair, it is kind of a very technical. You got to be listening, you got to be like timing, you got to be watching everything, you got to be quick. So it's a little different. But like with Last of Us, it's a little more story driven game. There's action. There's going and fight. I almost said walkers. I'm excited for the new Walking Dead show. I'm sorry. For like the clickers, and there's stuff where you got to stealth around or run and gun your way through. I mean, it's up to you. Yeah, there's that, but it is just the cinematic story experience for it, because like that meme says, like, man, did I beat the game or did the game beat me? Because I had to sit back and go like, oh my God, that was an intense couple hours I just went through. So I don't know. I'm also going to take it upon myself. I'm going to try and help you guys. Fallout is not as insane as like Five Nights, but I can give you kind of a groundwork to work with, like the basic, hey, bombs fell and people went underground. But as you know, the government sucks and they run experiments on people, because they definitely don't do stuff like that.
Oh, the government would never harm us. Are you kidding me? They're great people.
Oh, no, I know.
They're great people.
I know.
All right. They're great.
I know Tex is going to have a fucking fun time with that. I'm telling you.
We know how to pick them.
You pull up the list of just the vaults and look at all the experiments they ran on people. It's like, this is horrifying, and they would absolutely do something like that.
Don't make me pull up my Alex Jones tinfoil hat to wear during these episodes, goddammit, because I'll do it.
Yeah, you might have to.
Be careful of those gays.
Well, watch out for those gay frogs too.
Yeah, they
came out bite me and give it to me.
Chemicals in the water.
Here's kind of my thought process when I compare the two. If I'm just comparing one movie to one movie, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie that we got to the Willy'S Wonderland, I think Willy'S Wonderland is a more enjoyable film. I like them both, and I have like 1/100% of the knowledge of Five Nights at Freddy's that Rachel does, but I still enjoyed the movie going into it not knowing anything other than kind of what it was about, the basics of it. I like Josh Hutcherson in the role. He's good. He's been in some pretty good movies. Bridge to Terabithia when he was still like 8 years old or whatever. I think it's a pretty good movie. But I like that movie a lot. There's the big differences that I give him is one, what Five Nights at Freddy has going for it is, like Rachel said, there's this gigantic world. There's so many different paths that franchise can go. And if all you're going to do is 3 movies, I would imagine they'll approach it much the same way that Marvel is approaching the MCU. We're not going to do direct adaptations of any one thing. We're going to pick all these different things out of all this stuff, the bunches of books, the video games, and we're going to create this, movie universe that has these cool things that a lot of fans like. And we're going to have that kind of be its own thing. I think that's going to look really cool. And I think once we get those 3 movies out there, that I'm going to look back at the first movie and say, as it fits into this larger picture of this universe, that it's actually a lot better than I thought it was originally. That there are some things that I'm going to appreciate differently, some scenes and pieces of dialogue, that me not having her knowledge about any of this stuff is going to look back on and go, oh, okay, that's why he said that. That now it makes more sense. There is so much more potential for storytelling. Where Willy'S Wonderland kind of wins is, for one, that it's just better pure action. I don't think that's what Five Nights at Freddy really should have been. When you've got that much story to pull off of, I don't think you want to make it an action spectacle, because it'll take away from the characters and from the situation, what's really going on. If it's too actiony, you're going to kind of overrun the good story.
That's what I was saying about The Last of Us, but no one wanted to listen to me.
Yeah.
Willy'S Wonderland, if you want to fight the zombies, that's all I'm saying. It's still there.
Willy'S Wonderland has Nick Cage. I mean, I cannot overstate the power.
Bingo. There's your winner.
And it may be because he's having a bit of a career renaissance. He's had a couple of movies that have really taken off, but I mean he hasn't been a huge name for a while. And I think now he's just like, you know what, I'm playing with house money. I don't have to do The Rock anymore. I don't have to do anything big. I can just go do movies that people like to see me in, and I'm going to make some cash. I'm going to always be Nick Cage, which in and of itself is kind of a win. The other thing that Willy's Wonderland has that Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't is they kind of have a blank slate. I think that you can kind of do whatever you want. You've got carte blanche to, like, how do you want to approach a potential sequel for this movie? You can just throw some shit together, storyboard some stuff. You can create from nothing. Whereas Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't want to say it's bound by this, but I mean there are expectations from any product that's going to come out. And Rachel knows what I'm saying. I can see the expression in her face.
You could say it's kind of bound. I mean, people are going to be mad if it deviates too far.
If you don't hit certain beats, the really hardcore fans out there are going to turn on you. And if you don't get a good portion of that hardcore audience, it's going to suffer a bit. Yeah, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Now you might suck in some of the casual fans like me, but at the same time, you've got to satisfy the majority of your own crowd base first. And that's that's kind of a tough dance to do if you're in the Five Nights at Freddy camp. But I like Willy's Wonderland better, but I think they're both very good. I think Five Nights at Freddy has a ton more potential. I mean, just what I've learned since watching the movie, talking to Rachel about it here and there, about some of the stuff that could potentially be happening farther on down the line in the movie universe. I think there's potential there. And you've already gone through all the characters set up. Josh Hutcherson's character is all set up. You've got Matthew Illard's character is all set up now. You don't have to waste time doing it. I mean, you're going to introduce one or two more characters in the next movie, maybe. But other than that, you're going to be able to hit the ground running when Five Nights at Freddy's 2 comes around, if it comes around, and I kind of hope it does. You're going to be able to hit the ground running.
I think they've actually started.
Knowing Blumhouse,
I'm sure that's
Blumhouse is known for. Yeah, Blumhouse is going to print this out until they shit the bed like they did Halloween and The Exorcist. You just hold on to your, Five Nights at Freddy's hat there, people. Keep low. This is the rule of Blumhouse is keep expectations low. That's the rule for Blumhouse. So fair warning.
I think Josh Hutcherson already said, like, I think they're, like you were starting to say, I think they are starting on it already. So it's maybe it'll with Willy's Wonderland. I mean, this will make sense to Rachel, but I'm like, the way you could do a sequel to this is, what if Willy's Wonderland had a sister location?
Ooh.
Yeah. It'd be like an anthology thing rather than having to bring it back. Just for the record, it says
let me tell you about Five Nights. So there is a sister location. That is an actual thing. Sister location is an actual thing in Five Nights. There's a whole separate.
It's a warehouse where they keep animatronics and rent them out for private events. Is what their sister location.
So it actually wouldn't be that hard to make a Willy's Wonderland 2. Okay.
I don't think
it could be an origin story almost, like where they come from.
No, we don't have to do an origin story. The killers or the serial killers killed themselves, right? So they bound themselves to those robot suits. They never said once this robot suit is destroyed, then they die. They could still be in that suit and somebody resurrects them. We obviously that this whole town is corrupt, and they
always come back.
Torches, and there you go. I am perfect for generic. Hey, I know what role I'm supposed to play in Hollywood. Put me on the generic, horror spinoff. Make 15 of these things. I can find a way, damn it. This is what I'm good at. You put the robots back together, the spirits are still in there, and boom, introduce 10 more people for your Spam in a Cabin movie. Here's your sequel, buddy. Let's get Nick Cage back. Come
Tex on. Has like he's got a whole wheel of just like horror movie tropes, and she just spins it like, all right, we're doing this.
Right.
We're doing it this location. Just this many kills. Go.
Yes.
Horror movie.
Just like, okay. Right. Just like whenever you posted that deal in our DM group, so I'm waiting for Tex to do his thing. This is what my brain is good at. I can make good horror sequels. Hire me, Hollywood. I work cheap. So not union though. I'm not going union.
For the record, as far as Five Nights at Freddy's said in August of 2018, Cawthon said that if their first film would be a success, there could be a second film that follows the events of the second game. In January of 2023, in an interview on a podcast, Matthew Lillard revealed that he had actually signed a 3-picture deal with the studio.
Yeah.
And in January of 2024, which is just this month, Hutcherson revealed that a sequel is in development.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that they're not going to, how we're going to make a Suicide Squad movie. We're going to make a spinoff of one of the characters. You'll never fucking guess which one. I sure as fuck didn't. I didn't see that shit coming either. I'm like, this dumb fucker? Really? John Cena? Okay, whatever. I don't care anymore. Yeah. I definitely didn't see that coming. But the problem is, too, I'm going to fuck you up here. Five Nights 2 takes place before the first game. But this isn't like...
It's a prequel.
I know you're already messed up because Vanessa is not a character until like the most recent game that just came out. So that's why I was like, what?
It's also not accurate, but there's not enough time to correct you.
I mean, sure, it could be. Freaking look, like I said, freaking Gregory, who died in 1982, is apparently somehow fucking alive in like the 2030s,
2030s.
2030s.
That's a whole.
That's what I'm saying. It could be.
We're gonna get into way too much more.
I don't fucking know. I'm just saying that is a prequel. So I'm like, I'm trying to not. I was trying to disconnect a little bit from like the movies to the game because I'm like, if I do that too much, I'm gonna start criticizing it too much because I'm like, yeah, why is Vanessa here? Why is she Afton's daughter? That's what? Okay,
yeah, that's a movie thing. Well,
yeah. They're going with the whole X-Men movie timeline. They're like, oh, now we're in the 70s. Now we're in the 2045s. Going back to 1952. That's just what they're doing.
As long as they don't do the thing that Jurassic Park did. You're in the what? Sixth? No.
The technology is better in the time beforehand than it is.
Yeah. Well, there's that. That's the Star Wars problem.
Problem.
That's the Star Wars thing. Yeah.
The Jurassic Park problem was like you're 5 movies deep, and you're like, oh yeah, John Hammond had a partner the whole time. No, he fucking didn't. You shoot. I mean, I love that. I love James Cromwell, but I'm like, you did not. You just shoehorned him in here, and for some reason, I never heard about him. Like, whatever.
Well,
Afton didn't do this. I'm saying Afton didn't do this alone. So I'm like, you might have to explain the other.
You're gonna have to explain Henry, but that's a whole other story.
That's what I mean.
But again, that probably won't even be done in the movies because it's going to be based upon the first 3 games. You get the first one, which we have, the prequel, and then the haunted attraction. Third movie is going to be about a haunted attraction.
Well, 3 is
there you go.
Well, let's talk about a potential sequel to this movie. I don't know what you guys think of the possibility. Now, it was quoted as saying in an interview with Geo Parsons, the writer, he stated that he had an idea for the sequel if the film got enough support. In February of 2021, it was announced that a sequel was being actively discussed. I don't know what actively discussed means, the way that he's saying it, but
that means one guy had an idea one time. That's what that means.
Well, it probably means that he's talking to the producers and to the financial guys. It's like, hey, we did this much money. If we keep the budget down, we could do X amount more, blah, blah, blah. He's trying to sell the idea to them. But I mean, look, there's plenty of things that you could do with a sequel. Like I said, you've got a blank slate. You're not handcuffed to a specific lore like Five Nights. You're not. I mean, you can basically just kind of do whatever you want and start from scratch and continue on. I don't know. It's not like there's not stuff to build off of at the end of this movie. I don't know, Rachel. What do you think? What do you think a possible sequel would look like, and what kind of things would you put in?
I did like Tex's idea of the kind of rebuilding type of thing. Again, funny because Five Nights at Freddy's does that as well in multiple different ways.
Sometimes you burn it down and it comes back.
Yeah, but disregarding that, I think it would be interesting. I wouldn't mind an origin story, but I don't know that an origin story is helpful in this case. I like the way that it's kind of a mystery, like who and why is Nicolas Cage the way he is in this movie? I don't think we need an explanation for that. I don't really want one. I just want to believe that this is just random guy just possesses this amount of ability and this pop does some. I like the mystery of it. But I think a sequel could be something more following, maybe not the animatronic route, maybe following Nick Cage's character into something else just off the wall. Something not necessarily related to animatronics. Something, I don't know. That could be interesting.
That he's a cursed person in a way that just shit.
He
finds something else that goes
his
wrong.
Misadventures, I think, would be interesting. You wouldn't even have to call it, Willy's Wonderland 2. You could call it whatever misadventure he gets into next, and it would be more interesting, I think, to have a movie in the same universe rather than a sequel type of a movie, if that makes sense.
More like an anthology film, something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be more
anthology.
Interesting to me.
I swear, if Nick Cage shows up in FNAF, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. You just see him like pull up. He's in a leather jacket and the sunglasses. He rolls up out front. And he just goes like, just shakes his head and just drives off. That'd be great.
Just like a little cameo. He drives past. He's like, not going in there.
Shakes his head,
well, hang on.
Takes a sip.
Hang on. Wasn't the Five Nights at Freddy's movie in like the 90s or the early 2000s?
Early 2000. I think it was 2000.
Okay, well, that's a brand new Camaro he's in. So we're going to need some time travel crap going on if Nick Cage is showing up in that.
He could drive past the sister location. That's about the same timeline.
That would be. Yeah.
That's about the same amount of time.
Remember, we're talking early 80s to like the 2030s is the time frame of five.
Yeah, I can find something. We'll find one to fit.
Wait, technically the 1950s to the 2030s.
Yeah,
really.
We will find a connection somewhere. We'll make this work.
Yeah, easily.
But Jeremy, what do you think? Again, possibility of a sequel. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I mean, it's out there. Do you think this could happen? What do you think it would look like?
I do like the idea. I mean, because I would think maybe you don't want to ruin the fun and mythos of Nick Cage's character, because I'm like it's the thing with Jaws, like the less you show of it, I mean, the more interesting it is. So I don't know. It's like he like, are you gonna explain the pop? Are you gonna explain the why he just gets so much more? He got a little into that pinball machine as the movie went on too, which was kind of fucking weird.
I'm saying he was doing his best to impregnate that thing. I mean, he was getting at it.
He was feeling it. So yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if he goes somewhere else and it's something else that's just like bonkers off the wall, because again, it's Nick Cage. That's what he does best, and it works. Yeah, something that would be tied to this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I guess you kind of did explain like what happened. Like, I think last time we were on here, Tex suggested the new House of Wax. I'm like, yeah, you have this bumfuck town, middle of nowhere, and people get coming in and they get trapped into this. And it's like, it's only a few people that are running this whole gig, and it's all the people that are unfortunate enough to come by. And unfortunately, they're not all Nick Cage, or they're not all, Chad Michael Murray. So, you get the wrong people in there, and then they kind of overpower the people that have been doing this for God knows how long. So you kind of already had that explained. I don't know if maybe somehow it kind of got out and got loose. It seems like it's pretty contained, again, to being in the middle of nowhere. And it's really only a couple people that are trying to appease these animatronics. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe there is more to it. That's, or like we said, we could go an anthology route, and he's just traveling along, drifting in his little Camaro, drinking his pop, and I don't even know. There's more potential in that to me, it seems like, than trying to just narrowly keep it within, Willy's Wonderland. I don't know.
Tex, how about you? You're the one that thinks you're the expert on how to write horror and rewrite horror and remake horror. What would you do? Do you think a sequel is going to happen, and what kind of a movie would you make it?
I don't think a sequel will happen. Look at them. I mean, it didn't even make anything back. I don't think we'll see another one. But if I were going to make this a sequel to this film, I'm kind of going to do an anthology thing, but I'm going to play a little closer to the lore that we saw in this film. So it's going to be, I'm going to do like the prequel, sequel kind of mix, kind of like Scream did with these newest ones. I'm not going to focus on the animatronic. The animatronic part, that will be it. That would be in my movie. Obviously, that's, part of the first. I mean, that's the whole reason for the first film. I'm going to focus on that deal that satanic ritual group made with the town. And maybe once Nick Cage killed those robot suits, maybe those souls were released in that town and they're inhabiting others. And so we're doing kind of like when Jason goes to hell whenever his body blew up, but he could inhabit some others like that. Go more supernatural with it instead of the animatronic way. Maybe if you want to bring in the animatronics, maybe the only way Nick Cage can stop them is by retrapping their souls in the suit somehow. They have to rebuild them. If you want to bring the suits into this film, something like that is what I would go with it. Keep it campy, keep it schlocky. Don't take yourself serious when you're making this movie, because let's be honest, we're not building a whole universe here. We're making a horror movie that we hope makes money, and ideas like this are the ones that's where I'd go with it.
I mean, they put Christine in a car compactor, but you saw that little piece of metal bent down again. I'm
once maybe the main CPU in these animatronics were the things that held those spirits in that form, right? Once that was broken, all hell's broke loose, and the people in the town, like the main girl that drives off with Nick Cage, her friend calls her, "Where are you? Everybody's dying. Oh my God." That's how we get Nick Cage back to the town, and bloodfest, campy. Let's go. That's what I do.
You could call it Willy's Wonderland 2 Factory Reset. They all just go back to their factory programming. And
I think you want to keep the Willy's Wonderland for the name recognition, but play like Evil Dead 2 was Dead by Dawn. Army of Darkness. You do play with. I would get very Evil Dead with this thing. Keep the comedy. I would up the gore especially, but keep that campy comedy in there. I would basically make Nick Cage my version of Ash Williams, a funny kind of guy.
Goofy,
you know what I mean?
I still think they missed out on the amazing pun. They could have called 3. They could have called it Medieval Dead, and they didn't.
And maybe he loses a hand, and he has to get a certain utensil to fight these things with. Just maybe.
Yeah, I'm a big.
Can't say Groovy though.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in not screwing with what works, and I think this movie works at a lot of levels. Like I said, I would like to see them more explore the girl a little bit more. I think that she was interesting enough that I wanted more of her. Obviously, more Nick Cage. He kind of has to be the focal point of all this. But I don't. As much as I like the idea of anthology films these days, because it seems to me because one of the things I like about American Horror Story is it's not like every season is kind of its own thing. It keeps it from getting stale, because after you get that 3rd or 4th season of a TV show, same actors, same characters, same situation, you kind of it gets tougher and tougher as the series goes on to kind of keep things fresh and to keep a lot of people interested. It's one of the things that somehow Stranger Things has managed to avoid that. They managed to up the ante a little bit every year, every season. Now, granted, we got to wait 3 years between seasons. Maybe that helps a lot, but creatively. But I mean, so the idea of anthology, I think, works really well. But at the same time, it's like I said, this formula works really well. So finding a way to put him back into either this situation or a situation like it, to me, that's where I would go. Because, like I said, even though you've got the blank slate, you can kind of do whatever you want. You don't want to deviate too far from everything that made this movie good. So keep her, keep him, and maybe she convinces him to go around to other locations of this place where maybe there have been other problems and regulate some fucking vengeance on those animatronics as well. And then while you're doing that, maybe dig into his background a little bit, because there's a little bit of I got a piece of trivia about some interesting things about Nicolas Cage's character that it's one of those things that gives you a lot of stuff to really work with if you want to do a sequel and explore his character more. Or he could just stand there silently drinking his great flavored energy drink or whatever the hell it was and continue to smash animatronic things and do all that kind of stuff. Because like I said, you don't want to screw with the formula too much. I mean, they screwed around with the new Coke formula back in the 80s and almost sunk Coca-Cola as a company. You don't want to fuck with the formula that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
keep doing what you're doing as
new
long
Coke.
as it's working. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, new Coke didn't work. But
clear Pepsi.
Right, Crystal
Which
Pepsi.
is basically Sprite. But
Yeah.
as much as I kind of want to see the characters get fleshed out and expanded a bit more, I don't want to mess with the action too much. I don't want to mess with the visuals too much. There needs to be just enough story to where that puts these people in the place that they are for this film. It isn't like a big deal. Let the characters do the work in this, I think. And that's one of the big differences between this and Five Nights at Freddy's is there's so much lore and story to be told in Five Nights at Freddy's. You can deviate from that a little bit to tell story, whereas this, it's got one less dimension, but that is kind of a little bit of freedom in that you just get to do the cool visual shit and not have to worry about Easter eggs or member berries or whatever the hell you're putting in to remind people that, hey, this is a part of this really cool thing that you're all in love with. It's just it's Nick Cage beating shit up and being Nick Cage and doing cool and being all animated. You know, his weird mannerisms. That's what you can kind of rely on. So I want it to be, I want a little bit more, but just a little bit more. I don't want you to try to make it a full-fledged, like, great film. Just make it more like a Pooh Blood and Honey. Don't pretend to be an Oscar winner. Don't go for the awards. Do something, just stay outrageous and silly and basic, and you're going to get another pretty quality movie. That's kind of what I think. But let's get into some trivia now. And I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but the Nick Cage dance that he was doing as he was playing pinball, that was actually improvised by the actor on set. Not surprising at all.
You don't even have to. I think he's just been improvising his whole fucking career. You can't just tell me that he just does what he does, man. He said he got into it.
He's a very animated, very gesture-driven person anyway.
Yeah.
It seems like every movie he's been in, he can't just like stand there and deliver a line. I mean, he can, but I mean, there's always like that scene in Gone in 60 Seconds where like they're getting ready to go out for the big night of stealing cars. He goes, "Okay, let's go." It's like he's doing something with his hands all the time. He can't just deliver a line and walk somewhere and do a thing. That's not really what he does. I mean, it seems like every movie he's got some kind of a weird shimmy to him. He's got this weird antsy energy, like he's been drinking punch drink all day long, and he's 3 times the caffeine and probably a little bit of cocaine. Who the hell knows? But on that note,
whatever gets you through the day.
Yeah, the punch, the physical energy drink Nicolas Cage's character drinks in the movie. It has the text on the can: "A fistful of caffeine for your kisser." On the can. That makes perfect sense.
I mean, yeah.
So many marketing, like if they could like team up with do like a product placement line with like Monster Energy for a punch line of Monster or something, and just make those cans, that would sell like hotcakes. That's crazy that they didn't do that.
I was gonna say, behind her, I found a thing of like they have the drinks somewhere. You can the little orange. You can kind of see it right there. That is one of the drinks from Five Nights at Freddy's. The Freddy
Fizzy Faz.
That's cool.
The Fizzy Faz, the orange drink for Freddy. I'm like, yeah, they make those. So I mean, you can market stuff from it, and it's an actual, actual drink. Jesus, I can't talk.
They do that with a lot of movies. I don't know if y'all have ever been to a FYE store. I don't know if they have those.
That's where I got it.
That's where I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one at this past Halloween, and I got one for Trick or Treat. They had a Halloween one. They had a Child's Play. They had a whole bunch of different. It was probably just like generic drink in the can. I don't know what it was, but you're not buying to drink it. You're buying it for the can. So they could do it with this one as well. It'd be perfect for it.
There's probably even a Hatsune Miku drink.
A beer cozy. It just says punch on it.
Yeah, get you a beer cozy. Yeah.
That way Tex can put his Bud Light in there and drink it.
Hey, you shut your filthy mouth. I don't drink no damn Bud Light. We ain't starting that rumor. I don't think so, sir.
That's why I said Bud Light.
You got more class.
But according to let's see. He says this movie is kind of like Pale Rider from 1995 versus Killer Clowns from Outer Space from 1988.
I mean, yeah.
I can see that. That makes sense.
The Killer Clowns especially. It's got a very weirdly similar vibe.
there's a little bit of similarities in some stuff, but I'm like, let's be honest, this is just your version of Five Nights at Freddy's. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why he says that, because he's like, I don't want to say that I just did my own version of Five Nights at Freddy's, so I'm going to compare Nicolas Cage to the character in Pale Rider and the guys, the animatronics to the outer space. When in reality, we all know.
We never saw the name on that dog tag. How funny would it be in a sequel if the janitor's name is Fred? So it's kind of like a tip of the cap to Five Nights at Freddy's. Be like, yeah, we know that we ripped you off. Please don't sue us. We're just gonna homage you a little bit, kind of thing like that. That's something that a schlocky B horror movie would do. They would take the name and use it in a different direction. But I could see that.
Or name him Scott. Just for Scott Cawthorn. That could work.
Well, early in the film, I thought I heard him say the word Afton. I'll have to go back and watch it again, but I'm pretty sure I heard that like maybe the first 20 minutes or something. But I think that was in there, but I don't know. I'd have to go double check.
Let's see. According to the props department, the character Kathy, played by Kaylee Cowan, chewed over 81 pieces of pink chewing gum through the course of filming.
Jesus.
That's a lot of gum.
Yeah, I believe it.
I wonder how her teeth are.
I was gonna say, she like.
I wasn't looking at her teeth. I didn't know if she had any or not. I wasn't looking at this. So
the knee-high socks. That does it for me every time.
Yeah, that's where I was looking. That's exactly where I was looking.
That was
at
the money
socks.
shot. I agree.
Yeah.
Despite the fact, and this is probably going to start some discussion, despite the fact that Nicolas Cage's character's name is never revealed, at around 3 minutes, a military ID can be seen hanging from the interior rearview mirror of his car, suggesting a military past. The plates are even on his Camaro are even a reference to Cage's character, U.S. Army Ranger Cameron Poe from Con Air in 1997. I didn't catch the plates.
Wow.
No, I didn't catch that.
So the movie where he has a terrible fake Southern accent, he is homaging in a movie where in a Southern town where there's a bunch of murderous, Southern. I could see it. That's a good little homage there. That's not bad.
I mean, yeah.
Huh.
I wonder if I can find a picture of his.
At least you weren't doing, with a little ballerina chick. You weren't doing like a face-off joke or something with John Travolta.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Maybe he's the guy from Face Off. I love Face Off. I'd love to review that movie. That's an amazing
just give him
film
one. Could have given him one line like, "I'm gonna take her face off." Stupid like that. I don't know.
So many.
I can't find a picture of his car film.
Now, technically, this is a different version of Ghost Rider I'm going to bring up. But obviously, his version of Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze, rode the motorcycle. The Danny Reyes version of Ghost Rider, he's the one that has the muscle car. So they're, it's obviously not an Easter egg, but
I went and got my jacket. I'm like, he's got like a leather riding jacket on.
Yeah, he's got the black leather, so it could be a Johnny Blaze Easter egg as well.
Yeah,
they threw a couple in there that it could be, and the dancing like he did in Gone in 60 Seconds, like Frank mentioned a minute ago. So there's all kinds of little nods to his illustrious career.
Or is it just Nicolas Cage stuff? Like I said, he's
probably.
He's got a particular personality, a particular set of mannerisms. I mean,
the
guy can't sit still. I mean, when he's talking and delivering dialogue, his hands have to be doing something. You know what I mean? So,
I feel like when you hire Nick Cage for a movie, you don't give him a script. You give him the important points of
word.
well, I mean, just in any movie in general, you're like, all right, Nick, here's A, B, C, and D. These are the main plot points. You fill in the rest. Go action, and then you wait for the magic.
The Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there, you go. You're stealing the Declaration of Independence. You figure it out, and we'll film it. That's kind of how you work with an actor like that. but
there's a whole. I can probably find it. Well, it's an old video on YouTube. At this point, one of my favorite YouTube videos is just called Nicolas Cage losing his shit. And it's just him doing just like screaming or just doing wild, just dumb shit, just going off the rails, doing what he does best, doing his little freakouts. It's a pretty great cut. I'll have to find it and DM it to you guys.
He did a movie. I think it came out last year where he plays the devil. I can't remember what it's called. I never got to see it.
Oh,
but it's one. It's like he's playing the devil and he's like tempting this one guy. That's like, I saw the trailer for it, but I never got to see the actual film. It's one I need to find. I'll post it up whenever I find it or whatever. But
hey, look at
he's
that.
just a hell of an actor, man.
As soon as I open YouTube, most recently, Cinema Sins. Everything wrong with Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, they're listening to us.
Cool. Good. Well, no, the problem is
you have to realize at this point, Cinema Sins is just it's not, you don't take it seriously. Like I said, now if he points out like a continuity error or something that doesn't make any damn sense, that's why it's entertaining. But to me, I'm like, it's like the classics, like where he's like, "Oh, this scene doesn't contain a lap dance." Like, okay, fuck you. Who cares?
Cinema Sins gets very nitpicky at times. Like they just find stuff to bitch about for no reason. It seems at times.
Most of the sins aren't actually like sins anymore. Like it used to be like there was actually things wrong with the movie. I'm like, no, that's what's fun.
Yeah.
I'm curious, but
Cinema Sins was funny until Cinema Sins was good until Pitch Meeting came out. And once that guy came in, he blew Cinema Sins out of the water. So that guy is much better. But
Pitch Meeting is hilarious.
Oh, I love that guy.
Or actually, if you want to watch something that's a little more fun, Cinema Wins. I could listen to that guy talk about movies forever because you can tell he's actually passionate about it. He actually loves it. And again, he's finding positive things he likes about the movie and things that that are good with it. So I enjoy. I think I started the first ones I watched was him doing Star Wars. And I'm like, I can tell he even does like when he notices like some of the similar like musical beats or something that gives a hint, little stuff that you like, little nuances you wouldn't notice otherwise. And I was like, shit. Now I'm paying attention to more stuff like that because of it.
Right.
Let's see.
Look at this.
The look of the crocodile that you love so much, Tex. The look of that was actually inspired by a Soviet era cartoon called Gina the Crocodile, 1959.
Well, we know Gina the Crocodile, huh?
Communists. We're all being documented.
Well, I mean, I don't want to start on the social engineering that we've been put in since the 60s. That's a whole different kind of podcast I could do. But, I do like the crocodile design. I thought it was fun, ripping that guy's neck out and then getting the jowls just parted like the Red Sea. I thought was fun. So, I love a good horror of the body. I enjoy that.
Yeah, Liv actually says the line at one point in the movie. Says that he's not trapped in there with them. They're trapped in here with him. That's a reference to the character of Rorschach in the Living Comic Book series.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Watchmen, which was also
Watchmen. Yeah, I thought that. I was like, wait a minute. I know that line. I like this movie.
It took me a minute to place that line. I was like, why does that sound? I feel like it's copied or something else.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was reading the trivia. I was like, okay, that's where I heard it from.
Yeah, good old Jackie Earl Haley. He's a hell of a guy. I like him. He's a good actor.
One more piece of trivia. At the end of the movie, as Janitor is driving away from Willy's, an explosion can be seen. Obviously, it's what pops off. Where'd that one picture go that I had? There it is. She actually blows the car up when she's standing there. But at the end of the Janitor is driving away from Willy's when an explosion can be seen reflecting in his sunglasses. This would actually be impossible because the explosion would be happening behind him.
Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Full shot.
Who cares? It was still a cool
shot. This is a B-movie exploitation kind of horror film. We're not going for documentary accuracy here. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. But that's a good place to start wrapping things up. Again, a fantastic movie. I'm glad I finally got a chance to sit down and watch it. It's one that's been on my radar for a while, and it did not disappoint at all. Let me get you guys' final thoughts. I'll start with you, Tex. Give me your final thoughts on Willy'S Wonderland.
Well, see, for a guy like me, this film had almost everything that I needed. A smoking hot, almost naked woman covered in blood, satanic ritual rites being used. You had Freebird playing in the end of the movie. Any movie that ends with Freebird playing gives 2 thumbs up from this guy.
Devil's
and
Rejects,
the most important
baby.
thing, that's the greatest film ending out of any, and I will argue with anybody.
I would
the
agree.
greatest thing that this movie had was a guy named Tex. They knew they were making this movie for me. By God, I can't praise it enough. So I'm all in for it, buddy.
And my hetero life mate, Jeremy, what are your final thoughts on Willy'S Wonderland?
Well, first of all, it's funny, Tex, when I was rolling around this idea for this zombie story that I had written out in my head, I thought of a character just for you, and it's an homage to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
I was gonna name him Tex, straight up.
Hell yeah. I'll do it for free. I'm down.
All right. I was gonna kind of give you like the Andy role too from like Dawn of the Dead, the remake. The guy on the gun shop. His name's
Okay.
Tex. How badass is that?
Okay. I'm down.
I'll tell you about it later. But I just don't have money for that kind of shit. But I can dream.
Just give me a good death. That's all I'm asking for.
Oh no, I know. I trust me. I got you. It was gonna be pretty fucking cool. It was gonna be badass. You get the drink like fucking straight whiskey as you fucking die. So I mean, come on.
Hey, it's not like I don't do that in real life or anything.
Hey, what's in that cup you got there? Uh-huh.
It's good stuff, buddy.
Well, I can't show it on YouTube, but that definitely wasn't punch. So, no, I enjoy this movie. Again, it came out before we got an actual Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So again, you were drawing to the crowd of not only horror fans and or Nick Cage fans, because that's just, you go for Nick Cage. That's half the battle. And honestly, the rest of it was still a fun ride. And like I said, you still get the Five Nights fandom in there too, because we just wanted to, like we said, it's a blank slate. You can just have fun with it. Like, who cares? It was just a fun little hour and a half or 2 hours, however long it was, just ride of just beating the shit out of animatronics and playing pinball. So if there's, I'm not gonna be mad if this is the only movie, because it's still fun to go back and watch. But if there's more, and I'm not gonna be mad. Like you said, if it works, don't mess with it. Just expand on it and just, again, have some more fun. And also, I think Rachel said that right up there somewhere. He still can't talk in the sequel. Like, no words, no nothing. Maybe the girl can be kind of like maybe they can turn to like they can be like a Jay and Silent Bob. Like, she's the one who's like talking for him, and he's just being a goofball, like how he is. So that I feel like that could work. There's your dynamic duo riding off into the sunset. So it's definitely worth a watch.
And to Rachel, what are your final thoughts on Willy'S Wonderland?
It's a very, very enjoyable movie. If you haven't seen it, you need to. It's just a fun movie to watch.
Goofy.
It's goofy, and it has the gore if you want that, and it's got just it's funny, and it's fun to watch. Those are basically all my final thoughts.
We should get a custom pinball machine made of this movie and put it in our house when we get married. Like, we need to just have that in the basement somewhere.
There's gotta be one.
And you're gonna fund for that, right? That's gonna be your half of the money. Right?
No. Like, when I was looking into that arcade cabinet that we love playing at that arcade, I'm like,
yeah,
it wasn't a dedicated cabinet. That was just something they slapped onto a blank cabinet.
Into it. Yeah,
the sequel to that game that they made, I know I'm making no sense to anybody right now, but follow me. They made a sequel to it, and it was actually a dedicated cabinet to that game. So I'm like, I feel like it wouldn't be too difficult. You could do it if you had the means, I feel like it wouldn't be too hard. And you need a whole fridge stocked with punch for when you play. Obviously. Play some fucking
or
free
some
bird
kind of grape soda that you can.
I'm so going to listen to the 14-minute version of Freebird when I get off of here, by the way. I got it in my head now.
Maybe that's what you do. You just pound one of those drinks, and you go like, Let's go. Start paddling away.
Do a Nick Cage dance to Freebird. Oh my god.
Yes.
There are some places where it says they have them for sale, but there's not like price or any availability. So.
Oh,
I feel like Nick Cage in that movie. I'll give you $10,000 for it. I don't even need to know. Just tell me. Damn it! Now I'm start looking that up.
I'll have to look around. I'll have to look around something that'd be kind of cool.
Wedding present prank.
Put it on the wedding registry.
Put it on the wedding.
Somebody might. I mean, I'd at least throw some money at it. I mean,
I'm gonna put a blank check in front of you. You write down a number you feel is right, and I'm gonna sign it after that. So it's one of those kind of deals.
It's about to be my rich dead uncle that I didn't know I had.
Right.
Right.
For me, again, an enjoyable movie. It's Nick Cage. The guy can almost do no wrong. I mean, Renfield is one that I think could have gone very sideways, but even he was fantastic in that. And that was a fun movie to watch.
I love Renfield.
Yeah, it's like,
it was good.
Again, him playing Dracula. I mean, come on. How do you get any better than Nicolas Cage in anything? But it's a fun movie, and I have a feeling it's going to be interesting to compare these two movies and a very different movie, but still kind of the same vein with the Banana Splits movie at some point. We'll get to that one soon. So it's going to be interesting to kind of hold all three of these movies up. Very different movies, different universes, not connected in any other way other than like kind of some of the visuals, and just kind of like compare them to see which ones kind of come out on top. But it's a fun movie. Again, it's Nicolas Cage. Like I said, I wish I would have gotten more of the girl, but I mean, Nicolas Cage just does Nicolas Cage things for this entire movie. And for those of you who thought that Five Nights was a little dry, I mean, maybe this is kind of what some people casual fans were expecting from Five Nights at Freddy's. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe that's why some people would think this movie's better. But I think they are different enough to where you have to kind of watch them as separate movies. You don't look at one as like a version of the other. Watch them as separate movies. You'll get it once you do that. And you'll realize they're both actually pretty good films in their own right. But it is available on what you said you watched it on Tubi, Tex. I think I watched it on Hulu. I'm pretty sure it's on Tubi.
Oh yeah, it is currently available on Tubi as we speak. So you can go find it.
So go check it out. Tubi's free to watch. You just have to watch a couple of ads. But again, it's a fun movie.
It honestly wasn't bad with the ads. I think I got 3 ad breaks in the whole movie, and it's it's not that big of a deal. It's not costing you anything, so don't bitch about it.
Yeah, it's free, so who cares? But thanks to all of you for coming to hang out with us. Appreciate it. My man Tex, where can the folks at home find you, my friend?
Here Tuesdays and Thursdays. My recommendation for tonight, a remake from the 2000s that is better than the original, The Hills Have Eyes. I forgot how much I liked this movie. I went back and watched it. I said it, and I know the original was Wes Craven directed, but Wes Craven put his blessing upon this movie in the making of. So go watch The Hills Have Eyes from the 2000s. I have the DVD. I don't know where it's streaming, but Google is your friend. You can go find it in 2 seconds. So go check it out. We'll be back Thursday. So.
And my hetero life mate, Jeremy, where can the folks at home find you, sir?
You can find me here every Tuesday, every Thursday. And maybe Wednesday if I don't keep my damn mouth shut about other series that we could potentially review.
You shut up. We won't have to do more projects, you idiot. What are you doing?
I know. You and me sat here and did all the Saw movies. So. And stupidly, I'm like, we can fill in Wednesday. We can make Walker Wednesday and do each season of The Walking Dead as we go. But, that's the main times you get to see my face when I'm not. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be right now. I got the jacket out, so there you go. That was my effort today.
Crunch the can and throw it.
You know what?
Yeah, crunch it, throw it down.
Not sponsored by a Pepsi can. I could just crush it right here.
Better not be any liquid in that. Don't want it on my
No,
carpet.
there's not. I just do my best, Captain Quint. As soon as I do that, then just crush it and drop it. Yeah, and I know I always say Fortnite, but hey, I don't know what is with the absolute sweat fest lately of Fortnite, but I can't play more than like 2 or 3 games without wanting to put a 12 gauge round through my fucking TV. So no, it's
I can
like
grab one if you want one.
No, I got plenty. It's noticeably night and day. It's terrible. I don't know what the hell is going on anymore. But I'm trying to think, what else am I playing right now? I guess in exciting news, they had a cast picture for Last of Us Part 2, so that's exciting. That's coming down the tube. Grab your tissues.
Can't wait for Joel to get the old smash by the matriarchy. That's going to be great for the show. I can't wait for to hear that one.
Just saying, that was the game. Who knows if the movie's going to do it or the show? But
did you know that this year Pedro Pascal is going to be filming the Mandalorian film and Last of Us back to back?
Is he though? Because did he really film the Mandalorian, or did he sit in his living room? And see, because I'm like, that's how you
he
do
keeps
it.
the helmet on.
You're not going to be in the show or The Last of Us for much longer because you're going to have the ball. I'm sorry, if you haven't played the game, Joel gets a fucking 9-iron to his head. Sorry. So now will they do
I just
that?
hope the movie's better than that season 3 travesty was of Mandalorian. Jesus, what was that crap? I don't know what's going on with it.
It was this guy.
Whatever.
This guy right here. Another stoic guy who doesn't say much, but hey.
Make her lame and gay. Thank you, Kathleen.
Get it, make her gay. Yeah. Now that we got the South Park out of the way. And I would say, like, I will totally take the helm if we're gonna do Fallout because I'm here for it. I'll take
Fallout's probably gonna happen. It's probably gonna happen. I've been kicking myself in the ass for not doing Loki the last several months, so I think we're definitely gonna do some Fallout.
War is inevitable, and war never changes.
Or The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Rick's back, baby. That's something else we can do as well.
Ricky Dicky Doodah is back. Let's go.
Who the hell calls him Ricky Dicky Doodah?
Probably we do.
He does.
We do, and probably Negan, but like that's about it.
Yeah. And then one of our amazing females that brings a little bit of class to this shit show that is the harsh truth. Where can the folks find you on the internet in September?
I'm on Twitter, or X, or whatever we're calling it now. I'm still calling it Twitter because if I say I'm on X, it sounds like it could be a number of things that I am not on.
You enjoy fun.
You're just making extra income. That's all you're doing. It's no big deal.
Well, we got demonetized because we apparently used ecstasy. Damn it.
That was the other one I was thinking. Anyways, I'm on Twitter. Probably won't start streaming for a little while. We're busy wedding planning, so
yeah, that thing.
I'm not really active doing with my streaming stuff, but hopefully, after that's all settled, I'll be able to get into a streaming schedule of some sort.
We're gonna be poor. Please watch our streams.
Right, we're gonna be poor, so please come and join me when I do start doing that.
We're gonna drop like mad cash on a fucking pinball machine for Willy'S Wonderland. Please help us.
Right. Any donations a wedding present? Link below. Any donations considered a wedding present.
Yep.
And once again, asking for your financial support.
Right.
Right.
There's more Five Nights at Freddy's stuff to be bought. Damn it! Come on, help him out.
Yeah.
But as for me, you can find me here on Thursday. The next movie we're going to be breaking down is not quite a horror movie, kind of a vampire movie, kind of an interesting way of looking at the vampire stuff. Is Daybreakers, one of the? It's a very interesting film. I'm interested to get some people's thoughts on it. Tech says he has not been exposed to this movie just yet, but it sounds interesting. I think it's an interesting movie, and it's got Sam Neill, which you can't really like. Kind of like Nick Cage.
Yeah.
You can't really go wrong. So
I was going to say we're going to get are we going to have our other friend jump on because Sam Neill's in this thing? I'm curious.
Maybe.
Like, okay, first of all, there's no dinosaurs in this movie. All right.
He's like,
well, if we tell him
in the movie there's no dinosaurs, what?
Well, if we don't tell him there's no dinosaurs, he'll just assume because Sam Neill is here, and then he can come hang out with us too. We'll trick him. You know what I'm saying? Shh, don't tell him anybody.
The dinosaurs at the very end for the credits.
Right, I tell them about Requiem by a Dream. Yeah, there's definitely dinosaurs in that thing.
Yeah, sure.
Catch us here on Thursday, breaking down Daybreakers. I'm looking forward to that one. That's a pretty good movie. And thanks to my amazing co-hosts for doing their typical awesome job that they always do when we come here and talk about movies. Thanks to Rachel for coming in and filling in for us. We very much appreciate it. We will see you guys on Thursday. Until then, adios. Okay, just because you guys didn't get it all down.
There it is.
Wrong.
We got it in. We got it in.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Thurman is raw. Well,
Man.
Frank, I should tell you, Casey plans to sue you for using his likeness in an unflattering way. He did say that.
You have a
last
defamation
night,
case on your hands.
Yeah.
Defamation, look at it for Christ's
Can't
sake.
be mad at the
Can you
accuracy.
defame it
though.
any more than that?